What's going on, beautiful people? Lee Hammock, your favorite diagnosed narcissist here with a little mix-up today. I'm reacting to this video I just got tagged in on Instagram. It says how Nick Cannon overcame being a narcissist. It felt like clickbait to me because as a diagnosed narcissist, I've been in psychotherapy for 8 years now, and I don't think I've overcome it, right? I know I don't have the resources Nick does, but overcoming a personality disorder is extremely difficult, especially narcissism. So I'm going to play the clip and give y'all my thoughts on it as we play it through as well. And it's from this channel right here, Earn Your Leisure, Self-Awareness is Key, and whatnot. But Nick Cannon, just to preface this, y'all, Nick Cannon did say that I personally never said I overcame anything. That's what the headline says to get y'all to click. Okay, but he's telling you about his story. Boo, boo, boo. Give y'all my thoughts.
If you're diagnosed with something, you have to figure out, in order to rid yourself of the characteristics, you have to first accept it. So once it kept being thrown at me, and I was like, man, I'm a compassionate person. I feel like I'm empathetic. Like, how is this? Clearly, it's the spectrum. It's like 2-3 hour sessions of testing, like 6, like on separate occasions. They have you questionnaires, you fill things out.
I have taken those exams as well, y'all. I took the MMPI-2 and the PDQ-4. Those are personality disorder tests and whatnot. There's psychiatric evaluations. Of course, he got deeper into it and whatnot and did something else, and maybe did something else. But I've been in psychotherapy for so long, maybe I didn't have to go to as many sessions as whatnot. But you do have to accept it. In order to overcome anything, you have to accept it first, right? But like he just said, you have to accept that you have an issue, that you have a problem, because he got it thrown at him throughout the years. He's successful, all the kids and stuff like that. People are not shocked that Nick Cannon is a narcissist, right? Nobody's like, oh, we knew that. We knew that the whole time. But it's one thing knowing it, and another thing to actually put the work in. I'm a self-aware narcissist, right? But self-awareness just means I know. You have to be willing to put the work in. You have to be willing to go get these exams, and you have to be willing to deal with the diagnosis and put the work in to be better overall. And I felt the same way. I felt like I had compassion. I'm a compassionate person. I help people. I have empathy. But there's a spectrum of it right there. Are you helping people just to help them because you did it, right? Is this self-serving empathy? Like, are you being empathetic to achieve the goal of feeling better about yourself, or just to say you did it, right?
One end of the spectrum is confidence, which we instill, which in a black man, we embody it. But then it gets from confident to arrogant to overly arrogant, and then you get to a space of narcissist where you understand a level of self-love that is delusional to a point where it becomes damaging to others, because you love yourself so much that you see no one else.
So right there, with that being said, self-love is a unique way of putting it, because I think you are trying to protect yourself. You're trying to guard yourself against the world and whatnot. So you're trying to, like, it's a lack. So when you start internalizing everything and just feeling like you're more important, it's delusions of grandeur. It's this entitlement as well. So you feel like you're above everybody else. It's not necessarily self-love. I know self-love is completely different. Self-love is being kind to yourself, being compassionate to yourself, being genuine to yourself, being forgiving to yourself. As a narcissist, I personally I don't do that. So it's not really self-love per se. I understand the terminology that he's trying to put it in. It seems like self-love coming from us. Like, we love ourselves so much that we do this. Self-love doesn't mean putting other people down, right? I feel like narcissists like myself, we can be extremely self-destructive, and it becomes a problem in your interpersonal relationships when you become what I call other destructive, right? You start destroying other people. It's kind of like I blow myself up, and the people around me get hit with the shrapnel per se. They get hit with the debris from me blowing myself up, from me having my entitlement, my rage and stuff like that. So that can be a part of it as well. That can be a piece of it too.
I'm at that point where I love myself more than anything. And self-preservation has been my survival mode on many occasions. But now I'm at a place where I make sure that I acknowledge and see others. And so from that, I've learned that I don't have rage issues. You know, like that's usually a byproduct of narcissism is people, if they don't get their way, they flipping tables over, they cursing, they yelling. That's
not
never been my thing. But
so rage can be silent too. There's a such thing called silent rage as well and whatnot. Silent rage is a real thing. I'm not calling Nick Cannon a liar, y'all. But silent rage is absolutely a real thing, right? Where you lash out at other people because you have to have some type of rage towards people to be other destructive, right? Rage has to come out. When you blowing yourself up, the rage comes out in other ways. I'm not saying to him per se, but for myself, just as a diagnosed narcissist. And what he described as trying to understand other people's emotions and not hurt other people, that's called cognitive empathy, right? That's when you understand other people's feelings to a point where you understand what they're going through. You just don't connect to it on a deep, deep level, right? You don't connect to it on a deep level. Emotional empathy is completely different. Like, it's like I can put myself in your shoes. I understand your emotions. I understand your feelings. I feel with you. We feel together, right? But cognitive empathy is like, I see the emotions. I get the emotions. I just don't connect to them like you do. I can rationalize with you. I can be there for you. I'm just not going to cry with you in that situation right there, right?
But the one thing that I hold true to that I've always been is compassionate. And one thing as parents is probably the greatest lesson of where I've had to remove all ego and narcissism, because to become a parent, the family structure that I've created was created most likely out of narcissistic choices. But now that I'm here, I have to no longer operate in that. And like one of the greatest lessons I learned in parenting when it comes to narcissism is that as parents, we're often told or think the right decision is that our children are a reflection of us. But that's a narcissistic thought. I'll change the word from reflection, that they're an extension of us.
Yep. Yeah. I think the kids, what he's doing with the kids, how he's had all these children, that's what people point to his most narcissistic thing right there. Right there. That's what people point to as like, I knew Nick Cannon was a narcissist because he had all the kids. He's creating all these broken homes. That's what people point to the most. But it's like, yeah, could that be a sign of narcissism? Yeah, absolutely. And most narcissists do see their children as extensions of themselves. They see their kids as sometimes as reflection of themselves. But people use those kind of words interchangeably. Reflections and extensions. They use those words interchangeably, right? So that can happen as well to so many people, right? But when you are a parent, I have 3 kids. I don't have many Nick, but I have 3 kids. And I absolutely did used to see my children as reflections of me, right? As reflection of myself, where the kids didn't really have their own autonomy to be who they wanted to be. They needed to be who I wanted them to be. They needed to be my, who I created them to be, or whatever the case may be. So that's very difficult as a child when you have a parent that is highly narcissistic or has a personality disorder, like Nick Cannon said, like I do, right? So it's very hard to take those steps in order to kind of set your kids free and let them have the autonomy to be themselves. Right. Sorry. Yep.
That you must do what I say, or I created you, or you go to the school that I want you to go to, or you follow in my legacy. Those are all narcissistic thoughts, but we're taught that's what we're supposed to do as parents, when really we're supposed to listen and learn from them, because they're going to go beyond and take things further than we ever could. So
I model my kids, right? I model after my kids because my kids are full of empathy. They're full of compassion. They're full of kindness. So it's like I'm mirroring them. I'm trying to become a reflection of them because they have these kind, good hearts. And it's kind of like I'm fulfilling my own, I'm kind of reparenting yourself. When you are a narcissist, a lot of times you have to grow up too fast. So I'm looking at my kids and looking at how they're living their lives and how they're just accelerating in their life, how smart and compassionate they are. I'm trying to be like them. So I'm reparenting myself to be more like my children, So it's kind of crazy. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole video. I watched the first. I want to get out my genuine thoughts.
Therefore, we're supposed to be the extensions of them. And once I grasped that concept, I was like, oh, wow. So in that sense of you set the base, and if you do your job correctly, you won't ever have to force your children to do something. They're just going to do it because they've watched you do the right thing for so many years.
So it's like model the kids. So I'm modeling my kids and they're modeling me, not realizing that I'm modeling them. to teach them how to be better people based on their own behaviors, based on their own actions, and allowing them the ability to fail, do what they want to do. Not necessarily, you still got to be a parent, right? You still got to be a parent, but it's kind of teetering that line between being a good parent and a narcissist, right? You're like, is this narcissistic? You're always questioning yourself. Is this narcissistic? Is this toxic, or is this me being a parent? So you got to teeter that line right there, y'all. He's teetering it. It's kind of wild.
Used to think I would say my children are my legacy, but that's a narcissistic thought. Your children aren't your legacy. Your legacy is the things that you do. Your children are your lineage, and through your lineage you carry on your legacy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I was able to have the self-awareness and do the work to understand that.
So this is the end. So self-awareness is extremely important, y'all. Like I mentioned in the beginning, right? And then I'm gonna link this video, y'all. It's Earn Your Leisure and Nick Cannon. I said I'm not certain. I just got tagged in the video, y'all. Seriously. But Nick Cannon is a good example, and I saw somebody dancing the other day to a video. It's like Nick Cannon admitted to being a narcissist. Nobody's ever done that before. I was like, wait a minute. Nick Cannon might be rich and famous, but I've been doing this self-aware narcissist stuff for years. He just had the bigger stage. You know what I mean? But no, shout out to him though, seriously, y'all, because it's not a tough thing to come out and say you're a narcissist, because people are going to villainize you. People are going to see their abuser, their manipulator, their toxic parent, their friend, or whoever. They're going to see them through you, and it can be very difficult being in the public space or social media trying to say, hey, look, this is the face of narcissism. I'm the villain that you think. I'm not the villain you think I am. Yeah, I have all these kids. Yeah, I've done this. Yeah, I've done that. But I'm trying to be a better person. And it can be difficult trying to be a better person while people are villainizing you for the stuff that you've done in the past, right? I'm not saying don't hold people accountable. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that when you're as a narcissist myself, it's very difficult to do it on social media. People are going to get help from you, and people are going to get inspired, hopefully, to go to therapy, because therapy is not an easy journey, right? It's not an easy thing to go sit down in a therapist chair and talk about your experiences, talk about your lack of empathy sometimes, talk about, I rage. That's why I was like, Nick might not rage, but I have the narcissistic rage in me, right? And rage is not necessarily a characteristic that all narcissists have, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Nick Cannon might not rage. I loud rage, I outwardly rage, and I silent rage. I use silent treatment. I'm dismissive. That's silent rage. When you become dismissive, stonewall people, ghost them, giving them the silent treatment, that's silent rage. It might not seem like, I think rage, when people think of rage, they think of like rah! It's not necessarily that. Rage, I'm so angry, I'm so fucking furious that I'm not going to talk to you at all, right? That also is rage too. So that's why I tell people in these situations, rage can come out in different ways. Anyways, y'all, shout out to Nick Cannon. I actually appreciate, he's a big face black man out here, big celebrity or whatnot. And I wish him well on his continued journey. I would love to talk to him one day. Maybe I can go and counsel culture one day and chat with him and whatnot about the personality disorder and things that work for me. And try to help out the world, y'all, because that's always been my goal from the very beginning, to help as many people as possibly can. And I'm reaching millions of people now. I have a few million people that follow me on TikTok and Instagram, everywhere else, but not like Nick Cannon. Anyway, y'all, shout out to anybody going out there putting the work in. Shout out to Nick Cannon. Shout out to all of y'all. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And as always, y'all, mental illness is out. Peace.